So here you have Steve Flynn from Atheist. How do you do, Steve?
I'm doing very well. We're having a great time here at Hellfest. It's an awesome festival. It's one of our favorites, in fact.
Kelly said that you had a great time in 2007, and that influenced the return of the band. How did that happen?
It did, in fact. We had such an amazing show and an amazing time, and one thing we have always said is we're never going to go someplace where we're not invited, right? And so so many people were asking us, are we going to do a new record? Are we going to do a new record? And we always said, if everyone wants us to do a new record, right? And we refused for a long time to do one. And it's the same thing with playing live. We you know, people say, you're going to keep playing shows. Are you going to keep playing shows? And we always say, well, if people invite us to play shows, in other words, Hellfest, sure. If Hellfest calls and says, we'd like Atheist to play, yeah, we'll play. We're not actively out trying to seek places to play, but we'll go where we're invited to play. And as long as festivals and other venues and fans want us to play, then we'll keep coming. So when we played here in 2007, the response was so amazing, and there were so many people urging us to keep playing and to keep going, and it was a really one of those just the stars aligned kind of shows that day. And after we walked off stage, that was going to be our last show. I mean, that was it. Kelly said on stage, "Is this our last show? You know, let's we'll have a great time," and it was. And we walked off stage, and that was it. But it was such an overwhelming response that, you know, we came back and did more shows, you know, and we're here again. We did a new record. So that last show here at Hellfest was really, you know, one of those situations where you just say you can't quit. You have to keep going. And like I said, as long as people will ask us and continue to invite us to go places, we'll continue to do it, you know, for as long as we can.
As long as the fans want it, right?
Originally, if you remember, in the first 3 records we did, the fans really didn't like the band very much. We had a lot of good press. The record labels and the other musicians liked Atheist, but the fans didn't. So, you know, we went away. And there was the resurgence. The genre grew, and our band was looked at, obviously, as one of the first to be, you know, the founding members of the genre. So, and we had nothing to do with that as far as we were concerned. We stopped playing. I didn't play drums for about 13 years. I didn't even play until we started playing again. So, yeah, and then when everyone asked us to come back, we came back. It was interesting. One of our first reunion shows was at Wacken, and Kelly called me when we floated the idea of doing a reunion show when Relapse re-released our first 3 records. And, you know, and I said, well, who's going to want us to play? Because last time I remember, people didn't want us to play. And he said, well, we got an offer from Wacken. I said, you're kidding me, really? And I said, well, that's going to be expensive to fly to Europe. He's like, no, they're going to pay us to come play. I said, no way. I couldn't believe it, you know. And when we got there, and we looked around at the crowd, and I said, I can't believe we're actually here. I mean, it was insane. And so, yeah, as long as the people want us to keep playing, we will.
Now, Atheist is a household name, which is known pretty much everywhere. And you've been highly influential, as you say, in the creation of technical metal. How does it feel to have such a big reputation? And how do you feel to have influenced so many bands in the last 20 years?
It's really mind-blowing and humbling at the same time. I mean, because it's really interesting when we go on tour, or we go to play a festival like this. So many other bands come up to us and say, "You inspired us. You know, you inspired us to play. We are a band because of you." Or like the stagehands, the stage manager, and everybody here. They were fans of the band, you know, so we get that a lot wherever we go. And it's hard to it's hard to believe sometimes, because you have to understand the how we started and where we are now. When we started, like I said, people didn't like the band. I mean, we got booed, we were playing with Cannibal Corpse, and people would boo us off the stage and, you stink.
But the same thing happened with Gorguts, for instance, in the Cannibal Corpse tour also, and we can see where both of you are.
And then we also when it didn't matter where we went. We played with Candlemass, we played just different shows, and people just didn't know how to take it. And then we stopped. 14 years or so goes by, and we start playing again. So it's hard sometimes to put the two together. It's such a radical difference, because I was completely out of music for 13, 14 years. I didn't even play drums. I went to college, job, working, house, children. It was not music at all. And then it's like in a movie where you're watching the movie and then there's a cut and then it changes completely. And it was like that. So it's still hard to put the two together, that there's so many bands and so many people that were influenced by what we did. And we never set out to do that. We just played music that we liked to play. And the same thing when we did Jupiter. We didn't set out with any design on how Jupiter would come out. We just sat down and started writing music that we liked, and that's all we've ever done.
Your reputation has been built mainly upon the first 3 records. You've released Jupiter recently, last year, but every one of the first 3 records is very different, How was it to write Piece of Time, for instance?
Well, they were very different, and in fact, each of the records kind of evolve as we did. In fact, if you know the chronological order of the songs on Piece of Time, you can hear how we changed. I mean, songs like On They Slay, Unholy War, like some of the older ones that we never play, like Why Bother, those were songs we wrote even before, when we were Ravage, when we were just kids, and we were just having fun and writing songs, and you can hear the evolution. One of the first, riffs that started us on this path that we ended up on were like the opening riff to Piece of Time and I Deny, where we started getting into new territory, where the bass was so complex that the guitar players would then just put harmonies and single note harmonies on top, and there was kind of so if you put those songs in order on Piece of Time, you can hear the progression for us. And it went from having fun and playing house parties to getting serious. And after we did Piece of Time and we were time to do a new record, and we did Unquestionable, it was a whole different feel, because before we were just putting songs together with no thought. Now we have to write an album. That's a really different thing. So when we did Unquestionable Presence, you now are somebody saying, now go write music. And so it's a different, at first you're just creating when you create, now you're being asked to create. And so that was a real different experience, writing Unquestionable Presence. And we were still working on it right up until we were in the studio. I remember Kelly wrote the lyrics to Mother Man and sang it the first time right there in the studio. So, we were literally recording at Morrisound without lyrics to the song. And Elements ended up being the same way, and Jupiter was the same way. The first time that Kelly sang those songs is what's on the CD. So each of the albums was somewhat different, and Piece of Time, it didn't feel like anything really to make, because we were just, we didn't have a record deal, we were just writing songs. The other ones felt more like actual records that somebody was asking us to write, especially Jupiter.